Welcome back to Home Cooking Hacks, where we will teach you how to do great things in the kitchen without a lot of gizmos and gadgets. So today we're going to do one of the bases recipes. So the base recipes are the things that you can use to incorporate into various different recipes. What we are going to do here is we're going to take real tomatoes and we're going to turn those into real tomato sauce. And the tomato sauce recipe I'm going to show you can be used to make spaghetti sauces, marinaras, pizza sauces, or sloppy joes, and probably other stuff as well. Anything you need a tomato sauce for, this recipe or a variation thereof is going to help you make that recipe. For the equipment, the first thing we're going to need is a saucepan. You need a saucepan with a lid. Depending on the amount you're making, you're going to need that more or less. So just make sure you have a good saucepan with a lid available to you. You're going to need some measuring spoons, a food chopper or pureer, and a cutting board with a knife. So you're going to cut the things, put them in the pureer, then move it over into your pan. So making tomato sauce, the first thing we need tomatoes. I do prefer the tomatoes on the vine. They seem to keep their nutrients a little bit better. You can get any old tomatoes. Now I have 5 smaller ones here. You might want to use a little bit bigger. Use somewhere between 5 and 7 tomatoes, depending on the size of them. And you don't have to use the tomato on the vine. Just grab whatever you're comfortable with. I just prefer these personally. Next, we're going to need about half a cup of water. So I just have this measured out in an 8-ounce mason jar, just half a cup. And then you want to use some olive oil. You can use any oil. Olive oil is preferred. And then vinegar. Some recipes will call for white. It doesn't matter if you use white or red. You're just using it to pull some phytonutrients out of the tomatoes. Other things you want are your spices. So I'm just using some garlic salt here. You don't really need too much salt. It's going to be a little too salty if you do too much. So just be aware of that. I also like adding oregano and basil to these mixes, no matter what sauce you're making out of it. And then some pepper and maybe some extra salt. The garlic salt might be enough salt. You can use a seasoned salt or a regular salt, though, either way. Okay, so to start making this sauce, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull off all of the vine off the tomatoes. Throw that in the compost heap if you have one, or just discard them in the trash can if you don't. We're just getting these, of course, wash the tomatoes. I washed these prior to bringing them in. I don't do those basic steps here on the channel. So now we're going to open up the pureer, and I'm going to essentially quarter the tomatoes and cut that in half. So I'm going to cut them into, what is that, 1/8 or something. So then we're just going to go ahead and mix these into the pureer. I'm just going to repeat this process for all the tomatoes that we have until we have a nice puree paste poured right into the pan. Okay, once our tomatoes done, we're going to add our other ingredients. So half a cup of water, no big deal. And then I just pre-measured all my ingredients. We have 1 tablespoon of olive oil going in right now. We have about 1.5 teaspoons of vinegar moved in there. And then we're going to add out the garlic salt. And I'm just doing here 1.5 teaspoons. For some people that might be a little too salty. You can then add your extra salts, your extra seasonings and things like that from there. And we're going to stir it up. And then once it's to a boil, then we're going to turn the heat down, and we're going to simmer it for about 2.5 hours. Okay, so now we have added some heat. I kind of have this on medium-high heat. You can see it's starting to get just a little bit of this white at the top. That's good. We just want to keep this stirred until we get a good boil. I'm going to boil it for about a minute or so before I turn it down to simmering. Okay, so here we have our boil going on. So this is what it should look like. So once we get to this phase here, we're just going to turn it down to a simmer. I'll do just right above simmer. And then at this point, we're going to go ahead and just put the lid on and then just let it simmer. We're going to stir it about every 20-30 minutes or so. So here's after about 45 minutes to an hour. This is kind of what it looks like there. A little chunky, looks almost salsa-y like. So we still have way too much moisture in here. Of course, this is only about halfway through. We're going to boil this for another hour or so. Well, simmer it for another hour or so. But this is kind of what it should be looking like. It should be smelling like good old pasta sauce. And we're just going to stir that around again and just let it simmer. Okay, so here we are after the sauce is ready to go. You can see that the liquid is pretty much all boiled off, tiny bit down there. Now, if you're doing this, actually we'll wrap that up later. You can see what that looks like. It's nice and clumpy. That should be your completed tomato sauce. Okay, so we finished the tomato sauce. So as this is right now, as it stands, we can use this directly as a marinara sauce. You can put in just a little bit of ground beef there or whatever else to make a meat sauce. If I want to do sloppy joes, I would put in a ton of meat. If I do a sloppy joe recipe, I'll indicate exactly how much to how much. But that's actually all you need for sloppy joes. It's just really thick meat sauce. And then finally for spaghetti sauce, I'm going to take this out. I'm simply going to put it into a blender and blend it. That just makes sure that everything's completely smooth. That's what differentiates spaghetti sauce from pizza sauce. And then I might even add a few others, just another round of basil and oregano, just a few other small spices for the pizza sauce. So that is your tomato sauce, and those are different things that can make. So thanks for watching Home Cooking Hacks. You can help support me on Patreon, patreon.com/TomM, and you can check out the website for other ways to help support the channel. So thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoy cooking in the kitchen.